Now, Sounds from the Spires with Dr. Jennifer Pascual on the Catholic Channel, SiriusXM 129.
The Catholic Channel SiriusXM 129 presents Sounds from the Spires with Dr. Jennifer Pascual, Music Director of St. Patrick's Cathedral.
And you're listening to Sounds from the Spires on the Catholic Channel of SiriusXM 129. I'm Dr. Jennifer Pascual, your host, and I have a very special guest here on location at St. John's Seminary in Boston, Massachusetts, in the Archdiocese of Boston. And it is Tristan Smith, who is the Director of Music here at St. John's Seminary. So welcome to Sounds from the Spires, Tristan.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be here.
And thank you for your gracious hospitality, and it's good to be here. My first time here, and just about a half an hour ago, I started discovering your instrument here, which is a gorgeous Hook and Hastings instrument, and just a pleasure to be able to spend the day here with this instrument in this gorgeous setting. So thank you, Tristan. And you are only here a few months, right?
That's correct. I actually just began here at St. John's in August of this year. Prior to that, I was serving on the faculty at Magdalen College in New Hampshire. And it's been a wonderful first 6 months. It's so inspiring to work with our future priests in formation. It's important work that needs to be done. And just a blessing to be able to serve our church in this way.
Yes, and it is a great place for you to be, especially when they're in formation right now, and you can mold their liturgical music lives and expose them to all the music that they may not be exposed to otherwise. So you're in a great place.
Really, this is the underpinning for what they will have, the toolbox that they will have when they become vicars and pastors. And we need to make sure that we set them up well to understand what the constituent parts of good sacred music are, and also make sure that we equip them to know what goes into hiring a music director. That's
right. That's good. That's all important stuff. The great music, the great repertoire, and then also the practical issues that you have to deal with as a pastor or a parochial vicar in the parish. Tristan, are you originally from Massachusetts?
I'm from New Hampshire. I was born and raised in New Hampshire, so I am. New England is home for me. I've spent a little bit of time in Washington D.C. and Baltimore, a little bit of time in Atlanta. It's good to be back close to home.
But the seminary brought you here to Boston?
The seminary did bring me here to Boston. As I mentioned previously, I was teaching in a college setting, and we had a great chapel sacred music program as well. And what I'm doing here at the seminary is an outgrowth of my own life's work of that, really focusing on teaching men, in this case, to sing the Mass, which is something that I'm so passionate about. Not just sticking devotional music here and there, even if it's beautiful devotional music, even if it's a beautiful motet that's very polished, but teaching them to sing the proper, teaching them to sing the ordinary, so that we can elevate sacred liturgy and bring dignity and solemnity to the greatest human act that we give to God.
Amen. I couldn't have said that better. And how many men are in the seminary at the moment, do you know?
We have 75 men in formation here at St. John's, and we have 5 different religious orders represented as well. So our impact really extends even a little bit more broadly than the Archdiocese. We have several local dioceses here to New England and beyond represented, but when you add the religious to that, they're going out all over the United States and sometimes even beyond.
So this is a regional seminary then?
It is, yes, yes.
Yeah. And how many people are in your choir or schola?
If we have about 10 to 20, depending on the day and what the liturgy calls for. But we do have a schola that sings every day, 6 days a week. Saturday is their day off. So it's not just a schola that's singing on Sundays or feast days, but we're singing the Mass every single day, which is really important for them to be able to understand the wealth and also progressive solemnity in what the Church offers in that regard.
Right. And do they sing just for Mass, or do they also sing for the Liturgy of the Hours?
They sing morning prayer and evening prayer every day, except for Saturdays.
And are you the only organist, or do you have organists who are in residence here as seminarians?
We are very, very blessed to have 4 student organists who play at our liturgies. And our talent pool, so to speak, even extends beyond those men. Those are just the 4 who have committed to serving or seminary community in that way. When you consider the lack of organists in our society today, particularly in the United States, and you consider out of 75 men, 4 of them are flourishing organists, that's a tremendous statistic. And that is a source of inspiration for the future of the leadership in our church. And we as sacred musicians, what we can look forward to as these men become pastors.
That's right. That's great, 4. So then do you have the opportunity to play, or are you freed up to conduct the choir?
I do a mix of both. So we do a lot of Gregorian repertoire, and in that event, unless it's the ordinary of the Mass, it's exclusively unaccompanied, and so I'll always be conducting the Schola in that circumstance. And likewise, if we're singing a motet, I'll be conducting. I do a fair bit of accompanying here. I like to accompany the Mass, and as you spoke to the glory of the Hook and Hastings that we have in our chapel, it's hard to draw yourself too far away from it. It just wraps you in, and it's an amazing place. If anyone hasn't visited at St. John's, they absolutely should pay us a visit. Our 10:30 a.m. Sunday Mass during the academic term is open to the public, and we welcome guests.
That's wonderful. It's a beautiful space, and you're very lucky to be here. It's amazing. How often do you practice with your Schola?
We practice several days a week. We have a big rehearsal on Sunday before Mass, but having multiple touch points is very important, particularly when we're preparing for Mass every day. And so we rehearse typically right after lunch a couple times, and the rhythm and schedule of that depends on the week.
Sure. Do the men have certain jobs in the seminary that might take them away from the Schola? For example, if they serve for the liturgy, does that take them away from your choir?
That's the perpetual challenge of a seminary musician. But really, at the end of the day, we have to recognize that we are training priests.
Yes,
and so I never want to insist that my Schola members are not having the opportunity to serve the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, or not having the opportunity to lector. But I found that they're very, very generous with their time. And so we have enough men who sing in the Schola, and enough men with talent, that it frees them up to take advantage of the full complement of opportunities that the liturgical life presents. On a very solemn day, I want to make sure that we have a little bit more planning in place in who's going to be represented in the Schola, but it's never an issue. Men are generous with their time, and that's what matters.
Tristan, what does your repertoire consist of? You mentioned Gregorian chant and motets. What is your favorite repertoire that you do with them?
So with the men, really anything out of the Graduale Romanum or the Liber, I love more complicated sacred music, if you will. But Gregorian chant is the backbone of any good sacred music program. And most of these men have not sung it prior to coming to the seminary.
Wow.
And so it takes time for them to acclimate, and not just acclimate, but to live and breathe it, for it to become almost second nature, to be a part of their daily rhythm. And so I really don't push the envelope with other things until they have that underpinning. Making sure they know the major Gregorian masses from the Kyriale, Mass 8, Mass 11, Mass 9, Mass 10, Mass 17, Mass 18. We pulled out Mass 2 for a solemnity, All Saints Day, and we're doing it again on St. Joseph's Day and the Annunciation. And then a mix of propers. I love the propers from the Graduale because of the monastic tradition and the musical merit, the musical ingenuity that those propers demonstrate. But we sing a fair amount of propers in the vernacular as well. We use a lot of Father Weber's settings. I think they're really luminous in order to allow the faithful to engage textually if they don't have a grasp of the Latin language like some of our seminarians do.
Right. Tristan, do you teach as well as conduct the sacred music program?
So I do teach in the curriculum, Jennifer. St. John's requires sacred music and fine art as part of the core curriculum. Right now, we're offering a survey and appreciation course for really the whole Western tradition of sacred art and music, in order to allow them to engage with the important elements in the fabric of our Catholic culture, when many of them actually haven't before.
Right. Yeah.
Prior to seminary life.
Yeah, that's wonderful that you're giving them this great diet of sacred music that they wouldn't have otherwise, and they really don't get exposed to in the parishes. So you're in the right place at the right time, and I hope that what they're absorbing here transpires into their lives as they become priests and pastors, that they'll implement this music into their parishes as well.
Absolutely.
And now let's take a listen to Creator Alme Siderum, which was sung by the choir at St. John's Seminary in the Archdiocese of Boston, conducted by our guest today, Tristan Smith.
Christe Redemptor omnium, exaudi preces supplicum, qui condolens interitu, mortis perire seculum, Virginis Matris clausula, cuius forti hortensiae genus curvatur omnia celestia terrestria nutum patentur subdita. Te sancte fide quesumus venture iurex seculi, conserva nos in tempore hostis a telo perfidi. Laus honor virtus gloria Deo Patri et Filio Sancto Simul Paraclito in seculum
And you just listened to Richard Clark playing the suite Hymns to the Blessed Sacrament by Theodore Marie, who is also a Boston musician and founder of the St. Paul's Choir School. And just before the break, you listened to Creator Alme Siderum during lessons and carols sung by the choir at St. John's Seminary in the Archdiocese of Boston. And you're listening to Sounds from the Spires on the Catholic channel of SiriusXM 129. I'm Dr. Jennifer Pascual, your host. And now we have with us Richard Clark, who is the music director and organist at the Cathedral of the Holy Cross here in the Archdiocese of Boston, where we are on site at St. John's Seminary. And Richard has composed this great piece that is going to be played on a concert tomorrow. So welcome, Richard.
Hey, it's great to see you and see you in person here. And it's been a little while, but this is a great space to hang out. Beautiful, beautiful chapel, beautiful instrument. It's everything you want in an organ concert, and everybody can see you playing and check out all your magnificence. You're not hiding in a choir loft. You're right down in front of everybody. So this is going to be fun.
And you just performed a concert here recently, correct?
I did in November. This is where both our performances are part of the 140th anniversary of the seminary. So it's a real privilege and honor to be a part of this, and a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful space. I've never been in here before. It's a gorgeous instrument, gorgeous space, and I've had the luxury of practicing in this space all day. But your work is great, and I look forward to playing this tomorrow, a triptych on Lumen ad Revelationem. Tell us why you picked this particular tune to compose on.
Well, actually, it was the suggestion of our dear friend Michael Olbash, who is the director here, and of course, it's the central main Gregorian chant that is also part of Nunc Dimittis and part of the Canticle of Simeon. So it's very central to Candlemas, or as we celebrate on February 2nd, the Feast of the Presentation of the Lord. And it's the light of revelation to the Gentiles and the glory of the people Israel. So it's really a big part of another level of Christ being revealed to all the world, and it's part of salvation and salvation history. And of course, the Feast of the Presentation, which used to be the Feast of the Purification. Mary, the Blessed Virgin Mary, looms very large, plays a big role, obviously. So this is a bit of a meditation on both Mary as well as the light of Christ to the Gentiles. So, which really is similar to what happens at Epiphany and all of the revelations, which we've just celebrated, the baptism at the River Jordan and the wedding feast at Cana. And we just keep going with the Feast of the Presentation. So Christ's light is revealed to the world. So themes of light and just timelessness of Christ is the beginning and the end, the Alpha, the Omega. And of course, Mary. The fun thing I always like to say about the wedding feast at Cana is Jesus is arguing with his mother Mary, and I say it's really powerful to pray to Mary. And the reason it's really powerful to pray to Mary is because even Jesus had to do what his mother told him to do. He didn't want to do the miracle. He didn't want to change water to wine. Mary said, we don't know what she said. It's not in the scripture. But he argues with her, and the next thing you know, she's telling the servants, do whatever he says. So you pray to Mary. So this is a big deal. So there's three movements to this piece. That's why I refer to it as a triptych. And a triptych is, of course, an altar piece. It's actually a piece of visual art that would be in three panels. And so I'm using that analogy of three movements. And the three movements, I've taken titles from the Litany of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So the first movement is titled Mother of Our Savior. The second one is Singular Vessel of Devotion. And the third one, Mystical Rose. And the mysticism is a big part of this as well. And those are just three parts of the Litany of the Blessed Virgin Mary that I seem kind of drawn to. Mm-hmm. So this has been a fun meditation and prayer throughout. So, and the Gregorian chant has kind of an unusual angular theme to it. It has a half step and then a major third, and then it goes back up again. So it's a little Lumen ad Revelationem Gentium. So that plays that theme half step and the major third, kind of like the Trinity, goes back and forth, forwards and backwards, within this very short chant. So I play around with that a lot. I have a lot of fun with it, and I kind of mirror things too, where it's the melody is playing in two directions at the same time. It gets a little dissonant, but we have fun with it. So,
Well, thank you for the explanation on the history of your composing this piece. And it's a really great work. I hope I do it justice. It makes me nervous to be playing.
Sounds amazing.
Makes me nervous to play in front of the composer whenever it's a premiere. So I'll work on it a little bit more, and hopefully it'll all work out tomorrow. And it's a great piece. So congratulations.
It's gonna be great. I'm deeply grateful. I was stuck outside while I heard you practicing. This is how powerful the organ is. I was out in the parking lot, and I heard it, and I said, wow, that sounds really good. I can't wait to get in there.
And let's just take a short listen to the chant, Lumen ad Revelationem Gentium, sung by the Schola of St. John's Seminary, conducted by Tristan Smith. This was sung during a procession into the chapel for the feast of the presentation of the Lord.
Lumen ad revelationem gentium, et gloria plebis tuae Israel. Lumen ad revelationem gentium, et gloria plebis tuae Israel. Spiritus Sanctum Domine, secundum rerum tuum in pace, Lumen ad revelationem gentium, et gloria plebis tuae Israel. Via via cantaculi Dei,
Now, Richard, how long have you been at Holy Cross Cathedral?
About 6.5 years. So 2018. Time flies when you're having fun because it doesn't feel as long as that, but we're blessed. And truly blessed with our new Archbishop Henning. Really blessed to have Cardinal O'Malley, worked very closely with him. Blessed to have him as long as he was there. Very unusual for a Cardinal Archbishop to remain in place to the age of 80. Few people realize how old he is. He's actually 80 years old. He's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, wow.
So Archbishop Henning and I, we both went to the same high school. That's the other fun thing, Chaminade High School. Shout out to Chaminade High School in Mineola. He was class of 82, I'm class of 87.
Wow.
So for everybody out in Long Island, in New York, Mineola, yeah. So we have that in common too.
That's right. So 2 New Yorkers here in the Archdiocese of Boston.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, don't tell anyone. I'm a native New Yorker. Please keep that. Don't tell anybody.
New York, a Yankees fan too.
You're really killing me now with this. So yeah, no, you put me in a lot of trouble. Yeah, it is what it is. Can't really, when I hang out with my Long Island buddies, the accent comes out.
Right.
So,
So you're a composer in addition to being a music director and organist. Do you compose more choral works or more organ works?
That depends on what time of my life. There were times where I was definitely doing more organ music. I've done some more, it goes in stages. I've done a lot of choral stuff, particularly in the last several years. It seems to be a natural fit, and a lot of that also is some of it's liturgical, and there's been a lot going on. I've got something new collaboration with Alan Hommerding that's being published with GIA Publications. He did some translations of O Sacrum Convivium and Ecce Pane Sangelorum, so they're in English. The GIA is going to publish those soon. We just looked at the proofs. I got sent the proofs on the Feast of St. Thomas Aquinas. How cool was that?
Wow.
That was, I don't know if that was intentional, but that happened. So yeah, I've been writing a lot of that. And then of course, some of the pieces I've written with Richard Kelly for trumpet and organ. Organ's always a big part. I did something, a Te Deum for orchestra, chorus, soloist, and organ as well. We did that. We premiered that in Paris a couple of years ago. So organ's always involved in there, but this is my first organ solo work in a few years. Just I go in spurts back and forth. Yeah, and it's fun.
And who are some of the publishers if people are interested in accessing your music?
Lorenz Sacred Press has Gregorian Impressions, but you can also get that through GIA at this point. I'm at a few different publishers, but you can also, there's a number of things that I've self-published on my own website, RJC Cecilia Music. Just go to rjcceciliamusic.com. YouTube is also, the channel is RJC Cecilia Music. If you look for my name on YouTube, Richard J. Clark, you won't get anything interesting on that, but go to RJC Cecilia Music. So there's all kinds of crazy stuff on that one.
Yeah.
And that'll lead you to where you need to go.
Good. And do you have any works right now that you're working on?
I'm working on it. It's something new. I just finished a couple weeks ago a choral commission, Pia Jesu for SATB choir, course for piano and then strings. That's going to be premiered in March. I'll miss that because we got the right of election at the Cathedral, right? So you know what that's about. So, which is a great fun event. But that I just finished up. So oddly enough, I don't have anything that I need to do tomorrow. But I'll think of something. I'll think of something soon.
And last question, Richard, how do you find work-life balance? You have 4 children, you have a cathedral job, and you are a composer as well. How do you balance it all and keep it all together, and you do so well?
Keeping it together, that's questionable. I have an amazing wife who is unbelievably supportive, works very hard. We have a lot of driving, coordinating to do. Kind of what's blessed is I have 4 kids, and the 3 oldest ones are very involved in music. So thanks be to God, they sing with me from time to time. One of my boys is in St. Paul's Choir School right now. In fact, in a few minutes, I got to run over to Boston Symphony Hall because they're singing Korngold's work there with symphony. My oldest son just graduated from there, and daughters. So part of that balance is we sing and we make music together. And my son is composing, and today I had him at the Cathedral and going over, he's going to play on a concert of some of his own music, and he's doing pretty well, and I think they're going to like his stuff a lot, Yeah. And so that's been helpful, but it's hard, when they're really young, it's tough, because we work weekends, we work evenings, we travel, and that's hard on a family, for sure. We all know that, and I'm blessed with their support and their love, and they know what the mission is. The mission is that we're here to serve God's people.
Yeah.
And hopefully serve each other. So I'm blessed. Can't complain.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for your time. I know you're so busy and coming over here to coach me on your piece. And thank you for writing it. Thank you for what you do for the church. And just keep up the great work that you do because Boston needs you, and they're very lucky to have you.
Thank you so much. And, Jennifer, you're a blessing to all of us. We all love you so much, and you're the best.
Oh, well, you're great too, Richard. And so thank you, and we'll see you soon, tomorrow.
We'll see you in a few hours.
And now let's take a listen to Richard Clark's new work, Lumen ad Revelationem, which was premiered on Sunday at St. John's Seminary. And he wrote the piece for me. So this is not about me, but this is about Richard's work. And it's a great work, 3 movements, but this is the 3rd movement of the piece.
O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to your protection, implored your help, or sought your intercession, was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto you, O Virgin of Virgins, my Mother. To you do I come, before you I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in your mercy hear and answer me.
And you just listened to Memorare, sung by the St. John's Seminary Schola. And that is directed by Tristan Smith, one of our guests today here on Sounds from the Spires. And just before the break, we listened to Richard Clark's Lumen ad Revelationem, the third movement, which was premiered this past Sunday at St. John's Seminary in the Archdiocese of Boston. And you're listening to Sounds from the Spires on the Catholic channel of SiriusXM 129. I'm Dr. Jennifer Pascual, your host. We've been talking with Richard Clark and also Tristan Smith. And so this is the 100th anniversary of St. John's Seminary, and there's a concert series that is involved with the 140th anniversary. How many concerts have there been for this series?
This is the fourth concert in the series. We started last spring, and we've had a great series of musicians come through here immediately preceding your concert. Richard Clark, our esteemed Archdiocesan Director of Music and Director at Holy Cross Cathedral here in Boston, presented a lovely concert. We're so excited for your own concert tomorrow. And of course, it's the world premiere of his triptych on Lumen ad Revelationem Gentium. Tomorrow we have the somewhat uncommon occurrence of Candlemas, the presentation of the Lord falling on a Sunday this year. And so what better day to celebrate a feast of the church that many people don't experience because it comes during the week with a beautiful organ concert and a world premiere of a piece composed from one of the core chants that's sung during this liturgy for centuries.
Yes, I'm excited by this. And when we first talked about this, it was Michael Olbash, who was your predecessor.
Yes, I'm a good friend of Michael's.
He says, what work would you like to do, or what big piece? And he says, maybe you could do, we could commission somebody to do something. I said, well, what about Richard? He's in the Archdiocese of Boston, and so this is how that happened. And the triptych is what has transpired, and I look forward to playing his work. And he's a great musician, a great friend, and so...
He's a fabulous musician.
Yeah, he is. So Boston is blessed to have you and Richard and Michael in sacred music. People are in a great place to learn from you all and to absorb all of the music that you all have to give to this archdiocese. You've been here since August?
That's correct, yes.
And what do you see? You've probably spent your time absorbing and learning from the men and the faculty. What would you like to implement that has not yet been implemented in terms of sacred music here?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm always trying to increase, I don't want to say the solemnity of what we do, because the solemnity of the repertoire depends on whether it's a ferial day, a memorial, an optional memorial, a feast day, etc. But I am just more musically rich, the wealth of the patrimony of what the church offers. So I've taken this first 6 months to really steep the men in the backbone of Gregorian chant,
That's great.
which I talked with you about just a few moments ago. I do want to broaden the scope from there, but it takes training. So I really would love to be doing 3 and 4 part motets with men's voices on a regular basis, and it's something that we're very capable of. And we, for our larger events like our lessons and carols, for example, that's something that's a figment of that. But even to pull something out for just a memorial during the week. There's no pressure. There's not even guests here. It's really for the glory of God. We're teaching men an esteem for what we have to bring our best offering to our blessed Lord in the holy sacrifice of the Mass. And so we don't want them to think that there's 3 options. There's hymns, there's Gregorian chant, and then there's, perhaps unaccompanied organ voluntaries. We want them to understand what good choral music consists of. At the beginning, I spoke with the importance of teaching them how to navigate the process of hiring a music director when they're a pastor. And they need to know the right questions to ask. They need to know how to screen their candidates. They need to know how to conduct an audition and listen to audition materials and discriminate between a good candidate who can bring a sacred music program to where it needs to be in order to lift the hearts and minds of parishioners to God and to bring about the evangelization of the church and to spread the gospel in that way.
Thank you, Tristan. Do you work with them with the chants in the Roman Missal?
I do, particularly our deacons and soon-to-be deacons. I meet with them one-on-one regularly, typically once a week, those who are able to make the time for it. And we focus on singing the entire Mass, not just the dialogues, not just the presidential prayers, not just the tones of the collects and so forth, but the entire Mass. If a man is willing to put in the extra effort to meet with me, I want him to be equipped to be able to go into a parish and to be able to chant the Mass from beginning to end if he's in a pastoral situation where that is appropriate.
That's great. Amen. All the way from the beginning to the end, except for the sermon.
Well, you never know. It would get people's attention.
They could sing the sermon, but yeah.
I haven't worked with them on that. It's something to add to the program.
Have you started working with men on the Exultet?
Not yet this year. The man who's doing the Exalted is very talented.
Oh, good.
So maybe it's not even Lent yet. That will come.
Right.
We also actually chant the Passion
great.
at St. John's Seminary. So I'll be working with a deacon and the cantor for the Passion. It's a beautiful tradition here.
And do you do those in English or Latin?
We do them in English. Yeah.
And the Exultet in English or
The
Latin?
Exalted is also in English.
Yeah. What percentage would you say of the Gregorian chants you do is English versus Latin?
Oh, that's a great question. We typically use 1 Latin Gregorian chant proper per day from the Graduale Romanum, and then the rest is from the vernacular. It's interesting. I was talking with some colleagues about this recently, and we were talking about the various effects of language on prayer. One of the things that I think is important for pedagogy, really, is that we have a lot of vernacular settings of the proper that are in the Gregorian tradition. It's important to have contact with the actual primary sources in order to properly interpret and execute the vernacular derivatives that we have. I think if we just focus on those exclusively without their proper context, sometimes stylistically we can begin to shift away for what is most appropriate, even just with simple things such as text painting, the musical ebb and flow of the Gregorian melodies. So very important to have that entire perspective and not just looking at a particular century or a particular decade.
Right. Tristan, do you have to deal with other languages as well? These bigger cities, New York, Boston, they're all melting pots. Do you have to deal with other languages besides English and Latin?
We do. We have a Spanish Mass where we always sing the ordinary completely in Spanish. And that's a couple times during the semester. We also have a large Vietnamese community on campus. We haven't had Mass in Vietnamese, but it's definitely something that is present here at the seminary.
Nice. Well, Tristan, it's been really great to meet you, first of all, and to be here at St. John's Seminary. It's a beautiful, beautiful chapel and seminary, and gorgeous instrument. And I look forward to hearing your choir tomorrow. Mass is at 10:15.
Mass is at 10:30, yes.
10:30?
And every Sunday at 10:30.
Every Sunday at 10:30.
During the academic term, and guests are always welcome.
So I look forward to hearing your choir tomorrow at Mass, and then just being with your community tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. And thank you for being so welcoming, and thank you for making the time to be on Sounds from the Spires. And I really wish you the best of luck in your role here at St. John's Seminary. And I know you'll do great things, and it sounds like you've already done some great things. So keep up the great work.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for hosting me here on the podcast.
And we'll finish out by listening to that great Advent hymn, Lo He Comes with Clouds Descending, and that is sung during a live Lessons and Carols service here at St. John's Seminary in the Archdiocese of Boston. Thank you to Tristan, thank you to Richard, and thank you to Robert for editing, and stay tuned next week for Sounds from the Spires on the Catholic channel of SiriusXM 129. Have a great week.